Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to Fire Engineering Humpday Hangout with Traditions Training. We'll introduce everybody that's on the show today here in a little bit. Just want to say thank you once again to Fire Engineering, the Clarion Events Group, and Chief David Rose for allowing us to do that. We kind of go every other month. Our month before, everybody got really busy at work, and we could not do it. So we're going to try to catch up here in September. But I just want to catch up on a couple things here that's been going on. A bunch of us traditions training instructors just got back from a great session out in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I would urge you to look online or look at the website for the Jimmy Ellis training weekend, which is with the Jimmy Ellis Foundation from Pittsburgh. That group out there, phenomenal. This is their second year now. Beautiful hotel, great setting, great hands-on sessions. So it was a really good. All our instructors donated all our time to help build that foundation up and get it going again. And great out there with Danny Doyle, one of our legacy instructors that we had. He helped put a lot of that together. Even though if you haven't seen Danny in a while, Danny's lost a lot of weight. He's not the caveman anymore, man. He's really skinny. So we won't say what Roger said that problem was, but and then coming up here in the next week, we're going to be in Alexandria, Virginia. I think everybody that's on the show today is going to be there. So we appreciate Training Days allowing us to come tell everybody about our thoughts of the fire service. Sammy's going to be there. Josh is going to be there. Doug and Dan are going to be there. Ricky and Larry. And so it's going to be quite the group. Tony Kelleher is going to make an appearance, apparently, rather than just being on social media. He's actually going to show his face and grace us with his presence. So it's going to be a great week there. I'm not sure if they still have tickets or not, but please take a look. I know they made some room for some extra people. If you're in the Washington, D.C. area, it's 3 days of great training. Obviously a great topics, and also for a great cause there with Training Days. Danny McMaster and that group do a phenomenal job. And then Josh, they've done it. What's the other city they do it in?
They bounce between Lexington and Greensboro, North Carolina so far.
Yeah, so obviously, they flip back and forth every.
With that said, one of the things they do is when they have a strong contingent from a city that shows up repeatedly, they'll move it around. So they're doing a couple years in different places. So Greensboro, this will be their second year, and then they'll move on. Like Lexington, they did too. Then Greensboro, and they'll pick another place. They're trying to spread it out and get a lot of what they believe to be solid fire service information out there to as many people as they can.
Yeah, Chief McMaster and that group, a phenomenal group of people, and they do it for all the right reasons. So it's always an honor to be a part of that with them. So, and then just right before the show, we started talking about, excuse me, I'm sorry, FDIC, obviously coming up April 7th through the 12th in 2025, and we got a lot of people going to that. And I'm going to make a commitment this year that to try to reach out to some of our friends, including Josh, who did not get selected this year, to try to do a podcast or a webinar through our own company to get their message out. Once again, we did that with Josh many years ago, and we need to do that again. We got Caesar Haley, obviously put in for one. We got our own Eric Budd. Obviously, that there's only so many time slots and thousands of classes that get submitted, and we're very fortunate to have the ones we have. But I believe a lot of those people have a great message and need to get out. So we're going to try to reintroduce some of our own webcasts or webinars to try to help those instructors get those classes recognized and get them in a better position for next year. So, that's certainly something we want to do. But just to get to today's topic, the person that suggested the topic is stuck on a gas leak. So Scott Crowd is going to get in here sooner or later. I'm sure he'll return the units quickly and get back to the firehouse. But it was a topic that he suggested for a couple months ago was it's called marketing your firehouse. And he was talking about how company officers, and that's kind of what we have on here. We have Captain Doug Mitchell, Captain Scam Hiddle, and Lieutenant Josh Burchick on here who are, company officers in today's fire service that, have to deal with, with personnel each and every day. And how do you get the right people to your firehouse? Now, look, obviously we all kind of understand that fire departments, administration and policies and procedures can sometimes dictate how firefighters get to your firehouse, but I would say there's a lot of firehouses across the country that, you're able to have the company officer, I said, wrote drafted or selected, or, put the hard sell on to get that person to the firehouse. And then how you as the company officer have to create that environment for people that want to come to your firehouse. So I'm going to try to give you my story real quick, and then I'm going to turn it over to Doug, because I know Doug's got some stuff going on today. But just to kind of, and then we'll wait for Scott to get on, and hopefully Roger Steger. But look, the company officer that, this hit home is because I think when I was in Fairfax, I took a demotion to go work for a lieutenant, just because of the way he ran his shift, and the person that he was. And I did that by just doing shift exchanges at first, just, called the station. Hey, I want to go, does anybody need time off or anything like that? I want to come see. I certainly didn't tell them that I want to go check out your officer, to go see what kind of a person he is. But, working that 12-hour shift or working a 24-hour shift, seeing how that company officer runs the day, even on bad days, how he manages the people on the shift. And obviously, all three of these gentlemen on here currently run shifts dealing with personalities and people, and, dealing with the fire department, dealing with negative attitudes, dealing with positive attitudes, dealing with all different people, how to get that balance and keep it that way so their shifts runs smoothly and people want to be on that shift. So, I mean, Captain Tommy Whelan, obviously, I worked there for 12 hours. I knew that's the guy I wanted to work for. Just how he operated in the firehouse, dealing with, man, he had some personalities on his shift. Me just working there for 12 hours was a personality enough. But then add the other, 10 or 11 people that all had unique personalities, all outspoken, type A personalities, and how he managed that was just something to watch. And obviously, as I've grown older and gotten gray hair, I appreciate it more and more every day how he managed all those people. But, once again, I'm not managing a shift anymore like these three gentlemen are here. So, Doug, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you, because, I mean, obviously New York City certainly has a long history of, having good people on shifts. And, obviously Pete always talked about how he got good people to get to rescue too in that process. But, you're a captain on a ladder company, so take it away.
Yeah, Ricky, before I even get into where I'm at right now,
Sure.
we talked, you mentioned kind of like, the importance of good leaders and having good leadership at the company officer level. As I started my career in the fire service in Fairfax County, and I got my assignment out of recruit school, out of rookie school there, and within a short period of time, I was approached by a company officer who was on the same shift as me, and it was kind of a unique situation. One of my other classmates had been assigned to his company, and he knew that I was down the road a little piece, and he basically came up to me and said, "Hey, I want you to come and work for me." And I was like, "Well, I'm already kind of assigned here. I don't know really what that means." And in the background was my friend from recruit school kind of shaking his head like, "Yes, you do want this." And I thought it was a kind of an odd situation, and I didn't really know what the right thing to do was. But in some further discussion and some further background, as you said, kind of on the company and on the place and on the way the shift was put together, I made a change, and in short order was moved to a station nearby. And quite honestly, I know you, Ricky, know the gentleman I'm talking about personally, Craig Buckley. Captain Buckley went out and actively sought people who were into the job. He actively sought people that he thought would be great additions to his team, not just in physical stature, not like just because they like bowling, not because they like Diet Pepsi or Coke, but because he thought they would be good additions to his team. And this gentleman, I came to find out over time, while he was an excellent fire officer and an excellent leader in terms of running his crew, he built teams and then inspired all of us to study. He then imploded the team and rebuilt the team over and over and over and over again. Talk about a selfless leader. building a team that you knew you were going to implicitly just implode within a short period of time, 2, 3, 4, 5 years at a clip. But he did this over and over again. And I never really, again, sometimes, each company, any company in the fire service has a captain, has a lieutenant, has somebody who's in charge for that particular day. But it's such an interesting feeling when you are part of a team that has that winning attitude that is fostered and maintained by the company commander or by the officer on duty. Trying to, inherently people want to be led. Human beings love to be a part of things bigger than they are. They love to be team players, and everybody wants to be on a team. And more importantly, is people want to be on teams that win. People want to be on teams that have winning records, that do good things, that are proud of their company and their patch and their logo and their motto and their creed, and they take care of each other at each and every turn. What's the difference between a good firehouse and a great firehouse? I mean, there's lots of good firehouses out there, but what separates the good ones from the great ones? It's the people on the team, right? It's the people on the team. And I feel like company officers especially have the ability to be a brand representative, right? To kind of be out there from the beginning and from the start, not only saying, hey, I want you to come work for me, but also kind of living that team approach where, it's the team before the individual. You're always looking out for the betterment of the team. When I got the spot as the captain of my current company, the previous captain said, hey, we got a good thing here. Let's keep it going. And it's up to you to set the tone for how that moves forward. So I think that, like, whatever department you're in, whether you are a firefighter who's aspiring to potentially move to a different location, you're not necessarily happy at work. I mean, we should all be happy going to work. There's a lot of firehouses out there. There's a lot of shifts out there, depending upon how big or small your department is. There's a lot of like-minded people out there. So I really think that if you put in the effort in whatever facet you may be in, whether you're in that firefighter role and you're looking to make a move to better yourself and to better your career, or you are that company officer who's looking to make a place better. I mean, listen, your fire is based to some degree on your past reputation, but when people say you're only as good as your last fire, I say you're only as good as your next fire. Right? You're only as good as the next one that comes down the road, because that's where change starts. Change starts with the individual. Change starts with the next opportunity for you to be able to either put out a message or put out a fire. It really doesn't, there's more, we all know, of those of us who are company officers, there's more fires that we put out in the office than there are out on the street, because we are dealing with people, right? And people are what matters. The internal customers, if you will, right? Those people that we share a meal with and we share a hallway with, and those external people, right? Those that we swore the oath to protect. They both are important to us in different ways. But being a part of a team and kind of creating that mantra of that winning team and that creating that winning culture certainly starts, in my opinion, with the company officer. So that's just a little bit of my piece on there. I know I kind of wandered a little bit, Ricky, from where you started the conversation, but hopefully it at least made sense in the full circle.
Not wandering at least a little bit. Always want to get your take on everything. So Craig Buckley, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? I mean, I know we all.
No, I cannot imagine, considering I knew him when I was 18 and he was very young also, and some of the stupid things we did in life. So.
Oh yeah, yeah. And hey, listen, there's another point too, is that you can make stupid decisions early in your career. You can be a different person if you want to be. And Craig reinvented himself, and to this day is certainly one of my my mentors, somebody that I can talk to and trust. And the way he treated us as firefighters, as members of his team, and quite honestly, as members of his family, is something that will stick with me and has stuck with me throughout my career.
Oh, great. Buck's the man. I ain't no day fans of buts about that. So
Yeah.
So I mean, we'll obviously, I'm trying to think who in the senior state, who's the senior officer. I mean, so it had to been Doug. So then we got Sammy in the middle, and then Josh, you're probably the young buck here. How long you been an officer?
My daughter just turned 11, so it's gonna be 11 years.
Oh, my apologies. I didn't know.
I'm sure I'm still the young buck. It's all good.
I'm just trying to figure if that makes me old or you young. I'm just trying to figure out which that. I can remember you as a firefighter. So, but I mean, and how long were you floating before you got your first station? I guess.
Yeah, let's see. I would have floated for about a year, and then I got an engine lieutenant spot, and then was a lieutenant for probably 7 years between two different engine companies. And then now been a captain for 3 years, short engine stint, floated for most of that. And as of a couple months ago, I'm back home at a truck company, and I was a firefighter. It's a dual company house, firefighter there on the engine and on the truck, lieutenant on the engine, and now the captain on the truck. So any chance I get to come back to what I call my second home, I always strive for that. And it definitely feeds right into what we're talking about here.
Well, I'm sorry I demoted you earlier because I just always called you Lieutenant Burchick. So
yeah, no, it sticks. All good. I'm still getting used to it. It's been 3 years.
I failed to realize that I had 3 captains on here today. So all varying in heights, also, by the way. So, but so Josh, before I get to Sammy, because I'm still getting used to this mustache, full blown mustache that he's got going on. So, how does Howard County? How in your county do people get to the firehouses? I mean, assignment wise. So, and then you can expand like Doug did after that. So,
yeah, well, very simply put, people can put in a transfer pretty much anywhere they want to go, and the transfer list is very public. So anybody, any rank, can pull it up at any moment and see where people have requested to go. But captains typically don't have a ton of say over who they have coming in and out of their companies. They're consulted. We definitely have where we give our opinions, so to speak, but to say that we're the deciding factor, that comes up to battalion chiefs on up, and they're the ones at battalion meetings, a couple times a year, are the ones that are actually making these decisions and putting them on a transfer order and the personnel change order at some point in the year. So often there might be times where we get people that may not have requested to put in, or they've been requested for years and they finally, get their ticket punched. It's quite the gamut. But as I use myself an example, I'm on my 4th stint at my current house because I'll do anything to knock down the doors and get back in. As a firefighter there on the engine and truck, I learned what my mentors did, and I'm a sum of those parts. And then a lot of firefighters come back as officers, and they do everything that they can to hold the high standard that we were brought up under, and then do what we can to maybe advance it, make it a little bit better, and just to continue that tradition and progression. And so because we don't have highly acute say in who may come there, we definitely, if there's somebody we're eyeing up like, hey man, I really want you to put in a transfer to our house. We got a spot. We think we got one coming up. Outside of that, that may be the amount of influence that we have. So it comes back to the firehouse culture. I think Doug really started honing in on that. We're very much humans first. Everything that when I come into a firehouse, I want to be very sure that my messaging is clear. So we are going to provide an awesome service to the community. We are always going to do the right thing. Even if that flies in the face of policy or orders, the right thing is always going to be the right thing. We need to be able to back it up. And anything that we can do to support operations that's going to support the community and the organization, that's what we're going to hammer in on. So our anchors, like our non-negotiables, they're the same, whether it's a daily shift-based thing or if it's a long-term thing. And for us, like we're gonna hammer strategy and tactics. We always have morning discussions on something with policy, construction, size up with strategy. Right after that, we hit the street. we hammer home tactics. We get in at least an hour of like super high quality, challenging training, constantly nurturing growth. We're finding like the little nuanced tips and tricks to just really find where we can find growth for our personnel. And because it's a human first job, like we check in on the mental wellness side. Well, I want to know where people are at if they're having a tough day. We just had somebody get hurt on the shift. We got to check in with them. We just had a couple members lose family members that were close to them unexpectedly. So that affects our shift and our culture and how we operate. You know me, physical wellness is super huge. So we're going to get in workouts. Then maybe that ties in with our tactical training. Maybe it doesn't, but we're going to hit the gym because we absolutely need to be occupationally prepared for this job, physically prepared for the job. And then when you tie all these things in together, I use the word in extremis a lot. We're involved in extremis environments, highly challenging. Our adrenaline's up, and going to the human performance side of things, those can be the events that you can be tactically strong, you can be physically fit, but if you don't have the emotional regulation to keep a calm mind and handle these incidents, then that's an issue. So those are our non-negotiables every single day that we work on. And something that I say is that everybody can benefit by coming to the firehouse that I work at, but it's not for everybody. So everybody can benefit, but it's not for everyone. So there are a lot of people that they come in and they're like, hey, you know what? This is hard charging. This isn't quite what I expected. Maybe I want to head west. It's a little slower, and that's okay. We're not throwing shade. We're not going to shame them. But we want a high performing team with high accountability. And that usually means that there's a lot of trust and honesty to maybe outside people that looks like we're having really hard conversations. I'm putting this nicely. We're in an environment where it's psychologically safe to disagree. So we want to make each other better. Like, hey, why did you do that the way you just did it? Or here's maybe another way to do it. Here's something where we can improve upon this. And maybe I disagree with what you're doing. And they may push back. You know, I work alongside of a lieutenant. He is the person that is also setting the tone, and we're supporting each other. We come up with that plan. We don't see intelligent members of our ship as a threat. Like, everybody has something to say. If there's toxic behaviors, we shut that down super quickly because it's a cancer and it can spread. And when you start layering our non-negotiables with the accountability, with the trust, we have this atmosphere that's super collaborative. Everybody wants to learn. Everybody wants to give. And going back to always doing the right thing, doing the right thing is generally harder, right? And so we're not shying away from the hard work. If it's the right thing, hey, it's 9:00. We have more things that we need to do. The younger guys are taking the recruit out to go do some more training. It's our third or fourth drill of the day, but they care that much. And so we want to support that as much as possible. Yeah, there's a saying, I want my employees to be excited on Sunday because they want to come into work, right? If they're excited the night before to come into work, like, we've got a good thing going. This is not mine. It's from Patrick Lenciani's writings. Humble, hungry, happy. We want humble people that are high performers. You should have fun on the shift. And generally when you do hard things in the moment, it might be tough, but on the back end and you reflect on it, you're like, okay, that was really awesome. And I want hungry people. I want them to be passionate about the job. I want them to, no matter how small the detail may be, or how big or grand the operation may be, they're hungry and they're constantly seeking improvement, and they don't even think twice to jump right in. And at the end of it, like I said, we're in extremist environments. I tell people that I intend to put you in harm's way. Like I said that the other couple months ago when I came back to the shift. Like, I'm not going to do anything I wouldn't do. I'm not going to put you in a position I wouldn't put myself in. But when we have these high performing teams, we're going to be in harm's way, and I intend to put you there. And most people are like, hell yeah, let's go. So I think when you have the collaboration, they're humble, hungry, happy. These are all hallmarks where we can control our bubble when we may not necessarily be able to control the people that are coming in or assigned to our firehouse. And those are our core values and non-negotiables for us.
All right, Josh. And look, if Josh is helped us out a lot with traditions and with class and everything, but Josh has his own social media platform that he does. And Josh, since I screwed up your rank, I'm not gonna, screw up your Instagram and everything else. But, I mean, it's forged and unbroken, correct?
Yeah, forged and unbroken fire.
Yep.
And I also have like a little side project to a side project called In Extremis Readiness. And that's where I just put out like leadership and physical and mental and all kinds of thoughts that I just brain dump out on social media.
Yeah, if you want to watch a guy work out shirtless, that's the one you want to go to. Is Fortune Unbreaker.
I'm your guy.
It's all good. So, great dude, Josh. Thank you very much. So, Sammy, that kind of leads it up to you. I mean, other than your shift, making sure they have macaroni and cheese there every day. I mean, what is the happy place that you have to go to? You're hungry, obviously. If we use Josh's analogy, you know.
As far as people go, because I think everyone said it. It's people and their personalities, right? It's the people that came before us. It's the people that we bring in. And I said, I can cite, Chief Jones and Chief Pearman. They were the ones that set the tone, that also helped set the personality for the Firehouse. The Firehouse itself has a personality that when people either want to go there or they don't. And let's be honest, there are people that don't want to go to 10 House. There are people that do want to go to 10 House, but it comes back to the expectations. People know when they walk through the door what we're going to do for the day. They know that although we don't always mean to, we're going to eat late because we're busy. We're busy making alarms. We're busy learning. We're busy doing things. And so to me, what makes a happy Firehouse is you've got to be intelligent. You've got to have energy, willing to do work, willing to do long days, and you got to be a little bit of a jackass. I mean, at the end of the day, when we put high expectations on people and we have to let them be firemen, it's like Scott Thompson talks about in his book. If you let them be firemen, then they'll want to do fireman things. And so you have to have that. I don't want to say that you build a firehouse around fun, but if you don't let them unload and do fireman things sometimes, they're going to implode because we put a lot of pressure on them.
Is that it?
Yeah, go. Your turn,
man. They're epic, man. Just I'm done talking. I'm not. I need to go any further than this. So, but I mean, how do people get assigned to rescue too?
One of the things that we're fortunate is we get to handpick them. The Chiefs have been good to us, letting us pick our people. We don't always get it right, which has also been alluded to in this conversation. Sometimes we've picked some people that they really start to bring the program down, or they start to influence it, and that can happen from the bottom up, believe it or not, where they can affect the attitude of the shift or the energy of the shift. But what we've learned to do is try to get people that we're interested in to rove in exactly what you did, to detail in for the day, however whatever terminology you use in your department. That gives us a chance to evaluate them, and it also gives them a chance to evaluate us. Because at the end of the day, we're not for everybody, everyone's not for us. So it makes sure that we have a fit. And then when we reach out to them, they have an idea, they have an understanding of what we expect, and they want to be a part of it, or they don't.
Now, Doug, how does that work? Let's go back to your, when you were at, ladder 13. I mean, how do you get to that next step in your next firehouse? And because you've been to some good places, I mean, or how that works in today's fire department that in the FDNY.
Yeah, so I mean, everyone gets assigned out of probie school to a firehouse, right? You get assigned to the firehouse. You're not necessarily assigned to the shift, which is one of the reasons, in my personal opinion, why perhaps the quote unquote brotherhood that we have or we share may be slightly different. Where you may be broken into 3 different shifts, and then that may be, depending upon where you work, 3 different organizations as far as how they conduct themselves, how they provide tactics and lead, not necessarily tactics, obviously those are written job wide, but how they provide leadership within the ranks. So I understand the ABCD chart. I worked it. I get it. But you're assigned to a company in the New York City Fire Department, and that kind of just goes by where the needs are. The last couple of classes, they were needs based, and like I didn't get any probies because I have a fairly full roster. So again, you're assigned to a company. If that is not, you get there and you determine that this is not necessarily a good fit for you, or you're looking for something different, or you live upstate and you got assigned to some place that takes you 2.5 hours to get to, and you're looking for a change in venue as far as the type of firefighting that's there, you can put in a transfer request. And years back, they used to call it an onion skin. So like you went on a skin to a company and you were there for 3 to 6 months, kind of as a tryout, kind of like what Sam alluded to, like, and then if you felt it was a good fit and the officers felt it was a good fit, then you would fill out your transfer paper. And then, twice a year or so, there'd be a transfer order that would come out with people moving from parts to parts within the city. But that's kind of the gist of how it goes. Special operations is its own animal. Years past, as Sam said, it was kind of the company commander's prerogative as far as people came. They maybe did a 90-day or a 6-month detail in the company, and if it was a good fit for the firefighter and it was a good fit for the company officer and the other firefighters in the company, then that would happen. Now there is a application window where there's interviews and kind of like tryouts almost, if you will, for some of the spots in the Special Operations Command, which I don't want to necessarily talk about because I'm not all that familiar, but I do know that there's a process to get into those companies nowadays. Someone who wants to transfer into my company, they would usually make a phone call and find out when I was working, and then they would come to the firehouse, introduce themselves to the guys. They would come up to the office with me, and we would have a sit down and kind of discuss what their plans were, who they were, where they came from, why they're looking to transfer into our company, and and then it's kind of the old telephone, telegraph, telefireman kind of routine, because everybody knows somebody who knows somebody, once removed from, married to, divorced from, et cetera down the line. While it's a very big job, everyone knows everybody at some point, or has worked with somebody who's worked with somebody invariably. So you start to kind of do your research. And just like if you were that firefighter, you would want to do your research on that company. What kind of fires do they go to? Where do they primarily do their work? Is it tenement buildings? Is it high-rise buildings? Is it private dwellings? Because all of those are different types of fires, and again, depending upon what you're interested in, that may be in your wheelhouse. So that's kind of how the transfer requests go. I know Ricky had kind of alluded to Josh when you were talking about covering, and when you get promoted in the New York City Fire Department, you cover. You go from whatever your assigned division is, usually promoted into a different division, which is normally in a different borough. Again, gives you the opportunity to see new things, be a more well-rounded firefighter and fire officer. And we bounce around for years, potentially before, the certain company. And again, it's kind of a good thing where you do get to bounce around. So you get to see what those other companies are like, covering vacations and other fire officers, medical leave spots and things of that nature. And you'll know fairly quickly whether it's a good fit for you and whether you're a good fit for them. I think that's something that usually makes itself fairly apparent fairly quickly to both parties. Because again, as you said, Sam, you mentioned, like sometimes you think it's going to be a good fit and you get there and you're like, nah, I really actually, this isn't for me. I don't care for these types of buildings or these types of responses or whatever the case may be. So I think, giving time, as far and doing your research, if you're looking to go someplace else, do your research, man. Do your research. While I feel like there's a lot of places out there and we should never be unhappy going to work, to change just for the sake of change alone is maybe not necessarily the right approach or the right tact. But do your research, do your homework, make sure it's a good fit, make sure it's something that you're interested in, because your reputation is based on where you work and where you're from. And listen, there are certainly people out there who have been in multiple places, and maybe that's not necessarily a good thing, right? The firefighter who's bounced around and has been 2 or 3 years in every firehouse. Well, why? You know, and I'm always willing to listen to the why too. If someone comes in the office, because maybe there were hardships, and maybe there were things that were going on personally, and maybe there were moves and deaths of loved ones, as you mentioned before. So, take the time to listen, because maybe they worked for horrible bosses and officers before in the other companies, and they're looking to solidify something a little bit different, and maybe that's what you or your company brings to the table. So hopefully that answered your question there, Richard.
Because I'm going to go back to Josh here for 1 second, but hey, Josh said something that made me write down a question for you, Doug. Is that, what would you give to go back to be the captain at 13 Truck?
Yeah. Well, I tried. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I think that's how important, Josh says, that's where I wanted to be. And I know that's where your heart is. So.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I feel like, if that opportunity had presented itself while I was in that eligible window, bouncing around as a captain, I would have jumped at the chance. I did have the wonderful opportunity to see my own brother, cover there in 13 Truck for quite some time, and it certainly made me very, very proud to see him, acting as their company commander to cover an extended medical leave spot where their 13 Trucks captain was injured and was out for an extended period of time. So my brother was there for almost a year, maybe even a little bit longer than a year, covering in 13 Trucks. So it was great that they loved him and he loved them. It just didn't work out in the long run, but as sometimes they do not. But yeah, I think you know what, where you learn the job kind of is super important for, kind of creating that mindset in yourself. If you get assigned to a company that maybe is not the greatest, but you recognize that there's other things out there, while it's never too late to make a change, kind of as I said before, like people who gravitate to good places tend to stay in good places and then become bosses in good places. But every once in a while, there's an up and coming place that just needs a little bit of change in leadership, and then that place becomes a sought after place. And I know we've all seen it in our respective departments, companies and places that maybe didn't have the best reputations. That reputation can turn when you get good leadership in there, and that good leadership does what? It attracts good people, and then good people make a good firehouse, and that's what changes that reputation. A new patch, a new design, a new logo, some new leadership, and man, you can certainly change for sure the tone and the the attitudes of those when your company comes down the road. It's a completely different thing. And I will say I had an opportunity to be a little bit of a part of that in one of the companies I worked in, just bringing things together. And again, the majority of the issues that you see when you talk about people is problems in the firehouse, not problems tactically, not problems doing their jobs, but more interpersonal relationships. And I think as the company officer, while we all don't have to be best friends in and off duty, it helps when you are. It helps when you are, but it's not required. So I'm okay with that. You want to come in, do your job. Some of the best guys I've ever had working for me and working with me, we're not friends. We're not personal friends. We're not hanging out on our days off. But if they needed something, I know that they'd be there for me, and vice versa. And at a fire or an emergency, forget about it. Like those relationships, while we didn't see eye to eye, maybe politically, maybe philosophically, whatever. When it was needed, when the focus was needed between the team, they were on board, and that's all you can really ask for, right? I mean, we're not all going to be best of buds. I can't. We're not all going to be friends off duty, and I don't need you to be my friend. I don't really need any friends, honestly. I have my lovely wife and my children. It's pretty much it. I got Sam, Ricky, and Josh. I mean, maybe Dan Shaw, throw them in the mix, but listen, we know
maybe.
Personally.
Yeah, just maybe.
What's that?
Just maybe throw Dan in there. Yeah, okay, got it.
Yeah. Well, he's not here. My back is just finally starting to feel better now that he's retired. I feel like I've been carrying him for so many years. So amazing. He retires and now doesn't have time for the hangout. It's unbelievable.
I thought the same thing, Doug. I was like, I can't even give me a phone call back here lately. So
Yeah, you and me both. I'm glad to see we're at least both on the pay no mind list. So,
yeah,
but listen,
that's what happens when you get a beard.
I know. Yeah, I think we all know here that leadership is so much more than the amount of bugles or the amount of brass you have on your collar. It's about dealing with people, and I think if we can ensure that our people have the best chances to do their jobs, and Josh, whether that's leading them through shirtless burpees or Sam, it's about who can grow the thickest mustache. It's about our people, and if we can make them laugh and smile like we all just did, when the shit's on, and when the shit's off, we can at least come back to the firehouse and talk like human beings and treat each other with the respect and dignity that we all really deserve. So, I applaud you. This is a great topic, and I wish Scott was on the call because I think he would have a lot to add to it as well. Hopefully he pops in here soon. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of my long and short of it,
And then as long as they wear Elvis suits also, right?
Listen, like I said, Ricky, as you know, there are times when there's times to be serious. And there are also plenty of times when we don't need to be serious. We can have fun and we can relax and we can let our hair down, proverbially, some more than others, Richard. I'm holding on to my baby bird feathers. I was more talking about Dan in that sentence. But you know what I mean? Like, there's a time to have fun. There's a time to let loose. There's a time to show the team that you are a human being and you're not a monster and you're not an ogre and you're not a dentist, where you constantly like to drill. See what I did there? But there's times for that. And you know what? Show your team that you're human. Show them that you can have fun. Show them that you can, understand where they're coming from time to time. They'll appreciate it. Honestly, they will.
All right, Josh, I wanted to go back up to you. So you mentioned about your transfer policy in your department, but I meant, how do you get somebody to put in their transfer to come work with you? And then it's so public. And then of course, as everybody on here has their detractors in their own fire departments, as we all know, is that, now, why would anybody want to go work for Josh Burchick? You're putting it out there for the public to see, that you want to go work for Josh Burchick. So that can either be a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, obviously I think it's a great thing as long as I don't have to do all that physical activity that you do. As long as you trust I can hook a ceiling, I'm good to go. But I mean, that's got to be even in your department, which is what, forgive me, I don't think you've had anything, like 10 stations?
Yeah, we're at 14 with 15 coming online. Yeah, we're hitting some growth. It's all good.
Sammy, quit laughing at me. I'm having a bad day with numbers with Josh. I called him the wrong rank, and now I can't even get me. I'm usually good with numbers. So, but I mean, there's 14 stations, and 14 different personalities and different groups. I mean, so.
Oh yeah, no, it's man. There's a lot of ways to skin this. We certainly play into a little bit of what Doug touched on was just the nature of our department and leave and the Kelly schedule and who's hurt this week, whatever's going on. We definitely have a lot of details coming in or coming out for the day. We run a tiller truck, so sometimes somebody has the specialty to be the tillerman, and we got to bring that person in. So whether it's through a detail or maybe a junior firefighter just transfer in, like, hey, I got a guy. It is kind of the phone a friend thing, but through the details, through working trades with other people, we start eyeing people up. I also get to do a little bit of fireground survival stuff in the academy, so I can start to put an eye on some of the people who are the high performers and have the right temperament and just behavior qualities that we're looking for. But sometimes it is just hey, we know we're about to lose somebody to promotion. Actually, shout out to 3 of my shift members right now. Just this morning, my truck driver, the engine driver, and one of my senior firefighters took the lieutenant's test, and they all passed. Yeah. So in short order here, I may need to figure out 3 major key people to replace those people with. So we very well may be going on a hunt. And so we know who is on the next promotional part of the list for driver. And so maybe we can start. We're already actually just on the text thread this morning for the shift. People were throwing out all kinds of names, really just one of like, hey, Let's start planting the seed. Let's start rumors, so that way the rumor becomes true. Like we'll play dirty if we have to, but there are certainly people like, okay, they either already worked at this firehouse, they know the established culture, and they're going to feed right into it. Or maybe it's through volunteer experience. Like we have people that volunteer together. Hey, this guy's from back home, and I know they're up to it, and they would thrive in this environment that's challenging and also fun. And so we'll just approach them like, hey, I've heard good things. Want you to consider putting a transfer. Or sometimes they'll work and like, man, I am really digging what's happening here. That's happened quite often. Firefighters will come into Station 7 across any shift because all 3 shifts are holding the same high standard. And they're like, wow, you guys are like training. And yes, like you can expect fire and you can expect burpees and runs around the firehouse. Like you're doing all the things that you say you're doing. And people are really digging into it. And so then they might be like, hey, listen, I'm finishing this thing over here. Would you consider me if I put in a transfer? And sometimes we will have that talk, or sometimes we do try to handpick and say, hey, we'd really like to have this person come over. And then once it's on the transfer list, we know when transfer meetings are coming. And then we start talking to the battalions and the assistants like, hey, if possible, we'd really like this to happen. And sometimes our punk card gets pulled. We have a really great thing going. And if it's not promotions or it's not injury or it's not retirement, somebody comes to us and like, hey, needs the department, you will lose one person. So now you got to pick somebody. And that's a little bit of a blow to the shift sometimes. But you got to have frank conversations. And then together with maybe the engine captain and my lieutenant on the engine, we have a conversation like, all right, our car's getting punched. Somebody's got to leave. What do we do? And we start putting it through different filters of, all right, well, where's this spot going to be? Is it a place where somebody else can thrive in? There are a lot of factors to figure out. It's a very much a case by case basis. Whenever somebody asks me what you just did, I'm like, it depends. It depends on a lot of things. It's just the flavor of the day, who the chiefs are. But again, we just put things through that expectation. We try to hold a high standard so that they get a taste of what it is when they get to work 24 hours. And if they can hold up their end of the bargain, like, yeah, come on, let's go. Let's have some fun.
So look, a lot of you hopefully have attended a lot of Sammy's classes. And we know that, he can pack 900 and some odd slides into an hour and 45 minutes. Or if you, got a 4 hour, it's like 4,675 slides. But I mean, there's Sammy the teacher. So I think that anybody who's taken a class from Sammy understands that Sammy is a highly educated and experienced instructor. And he's able to get that message out through his slides, even as complicated as they are. I mean, I never knew that Halligan bars had forces within them. I just thought it was just a Halligan bar and you put it in the door. I didn't know you had all the stuff that Sammy calculates for it. But there's Sammy the teacher, I believe. And then I think there's Sammy the captain at Rescue 2. And I think those are a little bit of different personalities sometimes. I mean, especially by the videos that I see from Sammy's helmet cam. Some of the stuff that comes out of his mouth that, talking to people. So, I mean, Sammy, what, you said that, you get a say or, into who gets to come and be at your rescue company because we'll call it yours, even though it says Wichita on the side of it. We're going to say it's Sammy's. I mean, what is, somebody's got to deal with Sammy the captain. Who is Sammy the captain?
So first, and not to be combative, but I would definitely say it's ours, and I mean that to the extent that before you get a Rescue 2 front, you have to show proficiency in all of our equipment, and then show us that you can keep it together on the fire ground and on alarms. But the very final vote before anybody gets a Rescue 2 front in our house is the guy's vote. So they have to vote that, yeah, you are a fit. Because it comes back to like what we talked about, the culture and the personalities. Not everybody works out. But as far as a captain, I honestly, I don't know how to answer that because the people that we have are phenomenal. I would say probably, like you said, some people got to have some patience and understanding where I'm coming from. And we'll go back and talk about things later. But I mean, ultimately, some of those things are you have to. We want them to act like men. We have to treat them like men. And so, one of the things that when we train and we drill, I want them to actually understand why they're doing something. I don't want them to memorize it, right? I want them to be able to take a concept instead of a statement and be able to apply that with whatever variables we have on the fire ground. And we have to let them. I expect them to be professional, so at times I have to let them just go out and do their own thing. They're all the guys that I get to work with really make officer decisions on their own, depending where we put them on the fire ground. And so, as a captain, I have to release some of that control and let them go out and make those decisions. That is a terrible answer. I really caught me off guard. I don't know what the difference is.
Oh, I know what the
Because-
difference is, but I think it's because I know you. I was trying to get you to explain it, but I mean, look, Sammy sends me pictures of his drills, and I think I know the fire service, and I'm like, is that even on a fire truck? Is that equipment it's carried on the rig, and what are you doing? And Sammy's trying to rescue a Martian from Area 51 using a 3-to-1 with a pulley and the jack and a winch and everything else. It's that is. Sammy the captain. I mean, you're going to be better with him as your officer because of the stuff that he's just said. I mean, I think when he shows me videos of his drills, it's not the captain talking most of the time, even though he does get his words in. But I mean, mostly it's your firefighters and people that are conducting the drill. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. I've said this before, and I genuinely believe in it. A lot of the things sometimes we'll ask during drills is, why not do this? And so we'll do it. And sometimes I have an idea that it's going to fail, and we'll do it anyways because we want to see it fail. A lot of times, what the members are asking is not unreasonable. It's not illogical. And so to let them actually set it up and then watch it fail, they don't ask that question on the fire ground when they are out on their own trying to make those decisions.
I understand. So look, we're getting pretty close to that hour. It's been a long time since I've been a company officer, so I really don't want to. I mean, today's dynamic of personalities and people that are in the fire service today, especially at that kitchen table and in those that are riding the rigs today. I listen to these gentlemen, but I leave it to them to talk about it. I think they're the subject matter experts rather than me about that sort of stuff. I can think a lot of things, but I don't deal with it every day like these gentlemen do. So I would certainly take their words, and hopefully you can apply it to your own situation, your own company, your own shift. And obviously all these guys are reachable through social media or something like that. If you have a question or a problem that you want to throw at them. So please, before guys, to kind of close it out, Josh, you want to close anything out here? You want to give us a plug here?
Just do the right thing. High accountability, big honesty. Just do the right thing. You'll be fine.
Okay. Captain Mitchell.
Yeah, I would say, you know what? It's easy to do the right thing when everyone is watching. I think do the right thing encompasses more than just doing what's required. Many times what's required is what is important, but what's not required takes you to the next level. I think that separates people who are good from people who are excellent. And again, if you are that company officer, you have to have a vested interest. You have to be out there recruiting, and you have to be out there being a champion of your company. And that goes for looking for good officers as well as looking for good firefighters to help you maintain those company standards that, as Sammy alluded to, they've been there long before us. They'll be there long after us, God willing. And I think it's up for us who are holding, those titles and those ranks I feel like we owe that to that generation that came before us to maintain them and at least try to continue to push them in a positive direction where we continue to inspire our people to do good things, even when no one's watching.
Doug, it's always great to have you on the show. I know life's been busy for you the last year, so we appreciate you taking some time out today, and I'm glad we'll get to be able to see you here in the next week or two. So that'd be a good
to see
thing.
You guys. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Talk to you soon.
And then we're gonna, Mr. Combative or we're gonna leave it with you, pal. Go ahead, close it out. Say something.
Yeah, I'm just going to make a suggestion. Next time Doug goes last, because you can't follow that. That's bullshit.
No, this is typical Sam right here. This is
he's like you said in the text. He's been on a roll today. So
yep, it's a very good thing. So I the only piece I wanted to close out. Sammy said something to me about it. we don't have time for the story today, but being able to watch Pete Lund be a company officer and watch the people that worked for him and getting to know them and then listen to how they revered him as an officer. Look, Pete and I didn't agree on every officer concept because I believe an officer concept for the New York City Fire Department is an officer concept for the New York City Fire Department. It can't work everywhere. Just the way they run their department, how they run their department, I think it's incredible. One of Pete's things was admit nothing, deny everything, and then make counter accusations. That was one of Pete's mottos for Rescue 2. They actually had a shirt made up like that. I'm like, Pete, I don't think that's going to work in my organization, but just being able to learn from him, and watching him, he put together an officer class the year in 2004, beginning of 2005, before Pete left us. And it focused a lot on him and how he ran his shifts or his groups or, stuff like that, and how the firefighters at Rescue 2, came and worked. And it didn't matter, what shift you work on, or if you working 6 to 9, 9 to 6, working 24s, all those firefighters knew exactly what to do every day on that rig. It didn't need, the officers kind of just corralled them in and let them work. And, a lot of great firefighters came out of that house, as many firehouses, that Josh is assigned to, which Sammy's assigned to, and obviously what Doug's been assigned to. So, that's all great firefighters come from those houses. So look, you got to, started off by, talking about Tom Wheeler, finding that good company officer, man, that is a critical part of having a good, successful career, is having company officers. All the ebbs and flows of my career are all based on who my company officer was, or my chief officer that was over me at that particular time. If I was a chief at a certain level, who was over top of me, finding those good people, going to work for those people, find a way to do it. Find a way to go work for Josh Burchick. Find a way to go work for Sammy Hiddle. Find a way to go work for the Doug Mitchells, and get and learn from them. And then once again, like Josh and Sam and Doug all talked about, then, get them to that next level and make that next group of officers is going to be the person somebody wants to work for. So from all of us at Traditions Training, we appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back the week of September, October. We'll be back in November. Hopefully we'll have, that retired guy on here with the beard, Dan Shaw. Maybe we can fit it into his schedule and hopefully get Chief Schultz on. And otherwise, we'll see you at FDIC. We appreciate you. Thank you.